A central team of experts recently met members of the teachers and students' bodies at Northeast University in Shillong. The meeting was in the wake of several protests on the campus of NEHU in Shillong. Well, after the meeting, stakeholders said that it was fruitful. However, the demand for the removal of the Vice Chancellor, Professor P.S. Shukla, hasn't yet been met. NEHU has been witnessing several protests for some time now. It has also faced the ire of local pressure groups. The allegations against the Vice Chancellor were those of mismanagement and administrative failures. There are several pain points that the teachers and the students wanted the Vice Chancellor to address. Among them are the implementation of NEP and removal of the Registrar and the Deputy Registrar. Several rounds of protests and hunger strikes have taken place on the campus. At times, the protests have also turned violent, with instances of students' body members attacking the Vice Chancellor's residence as well as vehicle. An assistant professor was also assaulted on the campus. Charges and counter charges became the order of the day. There were also allegations of irregularities and communal disharmony against one professor, which he later denied. Now, many have raised the questions whether students should be part of protests on campus, which are affecting not only their academic career but also the academic career of other students from the state and outside Meghalaya. Yes, students have the right to protest under Article 19, which allows them freedom of speech and freedom of expression. In fact, students should be aware of all the administrative decisions taken in the institution. However, such protests should be peaceful and protesters have to be mindful of the safety of their peers, whether they are from the state or from other parts of the country. This is about the reputation of the institution, and in this context, it should be mentioned that the assault of the assistant professor was uncalled for. Now let's look at the fulfillment of the demands. As far as the implementation of NEP goes, several state and autonomous universities across the country have refused to implement NEP. This subject in particular requires a long-run discussion and cannot be solved overnight, and this the protesters have to keep in mind. Instead of engaging in violence, protesters should initiate dialogue so that there is a long-run discussion on this topic and a conclusion is reached. For other demands, such as the recruitment of staff, NEHU as an autonomous body can always take its decision. However, despite so many protests and hunger strikes on the Shillong campus of the university, the administration did not take any stand. This proves the administration's failures on several counts. The central team studying the earlier inquiry reports needs to find the root causes of the problems and deal with those holistically, rather than doling out piecemeal solutions. Another central institution in Shillong that has been witnessing protests by local pressure groups is the Northeast Indira Gandhi Regional Institute of Health and Medical Sciences. Among the demands is the recruitment of more female staff in the ratio of 80:20. 80 female and 20 male nursing staff. Well, the demand is valid but not legally bound. Well, as we all know that there is a discrimination against men in the nursing career, and to recruit more female staff will only increase the discrimination. However, the demand of the pressure groups was not just recruitment of more female nursing staff but also more local staff. Well, recruiting more female staff is not difficult because Meghalaya has a big pool of female trained nurses. But this move may discourage the men who are aspiring to be in this nursing career. If providing more jobs to the locals is the agenda, then more men who are aspiring to be nurses can be trained from the local pool of youths. And I think the pressure groups who are demanding for more jobs will also appreciate this move, because this will not only provide more jobs but more jobs to locals. Having said this, the question remains whether protesting inside a hospital or on the campus of hospital is justified. Well, as long as the protest is peaceful and as long as protesters are not stopping the services, medical services, or stopping the existing nursing staff to do their duties, there is no harm in a peaceful protest inside a hospital. KSU immediately stalled its protest when NEHRIMS stopped the recruitment procedure. To protest is every citizen's right, but there should be a rationality in every action and demand. And it should be borne in mind that every change takes time to happen. It does not happen overnight. Hence, protesters should keep in mind whether the protesters are on NEHU campus or inside NEHRIMS, they should keep in mind that patience and persistence are the key to a successful protest.